What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and today it's an interesting topic. It's what can we as gamers do to help both send a message to improve gaming for everybody. And this comes from a question that Michael Coffey wrote to us. He, in context of how do we actually help change Blizzard. So I'm going to go ahead and read his comment right here, and then we're going to kind of talk about it because there's a lot of questions he asks. There's a lot of points he makes, and I think it's incredibly important, and I think it's an incredibly important discussion. And like with all discussions, I'd love to know your thoughts as well. So feel free to obviously sign off in the comments below your thoughts about anything I'm about to share. But first, let's dive into what he has to say, and then let's talk about some options, some things that we have, some power that we have, some ways that we can go about and affect change. But we'll have to also dive into a little bit of kind of the bad news first, but then we'll tie it up. Hopefully this will be something informative and interesting, and maybe, at least if nothing else, have an interesting discussion around it and maybe empower us all a little bit more. But Michael writes, how do we navigate the current landscape in this climate? Specifically with all the shady and greedy practices, how as a gamer can we resolve taking a stand and not getting toxic at the gamers who lack self-control or who do not care? Case in point with World of Warcraft, WoD and BFA are horrible. All the founders cashed in and are now gone. They have been shoving away the PC gamer for 2 years now with you think you do, but you don't. That guy is now a major CEO at Act Blizzard. In regards to wanting a vanilla server only or the classic, don't you guys have cell phones? Arrogant and dismissive tone for the PC gamer fans who sent money to go to BlizzCon and do not want or care about mobile gaming. Or they have record numbers and are firing hundreds. Or they do not pay their share of taxes even remotely. And now even people who dislike or hate the company and the state of WoW are coming back to play Vanilla Classic. However, forgetting or not understanding that in order to do that, you have to sub to the current BFA and WoW. So how does Act Blizzard learn if they still have your time and cash? How can we as a gamer take a stand? Knowing that until most gamers take that same stance and can resist those games we love, change is unlikely. Anyway, maybe this is best covered in a future video. Thanks for the listen and all the work you both do behind the scenes. So, we're going to break it down. So, obviously, the issue here is that with Classic, it seems like, has everybody kind of forgiven Activision Blizzard? And essentially, I want to talk about the bad news. I want to break down the numbers and put this into context because there is an ownership that I think we, Michael, you probably watching this video, share of the gaming space. Maybe we've grown up with it. Maybe we're PC for life, console for life. Maybe we've got some form of ownership of it because essentially gaming was this kind of niche thing for a long time. And now it's really on the global scale. So that's what I want to set the stage first. Trust me, there's hope. But I want to set the context. I want to talk about what we're really actually up against because Michael kind of points it out. How do we navigate this? He points out saying that, gamers who lack self-control or do not care. And honestly, I wouldn't subscribe that to him because there's a bigger piece of the puzzle here. So obviously, let's start with 2 billion gamers. That's the number that's being touted. I honestly believe it. The question and the challenge is what defines a gamer. And I think you and I and anybody watching this video would probably come up with some similar, ideas. At the same time, there'd also be some major differences. So 2 billion gamers. Right now, reported over 91 million PlayStation 4s have been sold, around 40 million Xbox One, Switches, etc. Obviously, there's going to be some crossover. You have PC as well. And what determines that? If you look at that buy-in, even if we estimate 200,000 within the console and PC space, even if we double it to 400,000, when we're talking about kind of that traditional kind of gamer, that console gamer, that's 1% to 2% of the total gaming population. And so you see Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, they're all kind of fighting over that 1% to 2%, and that in and of itself presents one bit of the challenge. Now, within that, let's just say 2%, we subdivide ourselves into casual, into hardcore, into shooter bros, into weebs, into anything and everything that we can to kind of have a bit of that, more of that pie, to have more of that ownership. And that, for example, when you say gamers who lack self-control or do not care, there's plenty of gamers out there that they just pick up their regular Madden or FIFA title once a year. They're gamers, but like maybe we want to discount them. Maybe we want to kind of push them to the side because maybe they don't play RPGs or fighters or this or that. Like, and that's, I think, part of the weakness of it is that we're like lords fighting over small plots of land when actually I think when you think about it, 1 or 2% of people who are upset and focused can get a lot of things done. So I think that the first thing is to stop thinking of gamers as people who lack self-control and do not care. Because like it's dismissive of them because we don't know like their world. Maybe like, this is where they get their social thing. Obviously hype within the gaming world is a different thing. Like marketing within gaming is a whole different beast. And so we kind of get caught up in that. And we're actually a small piece of the population because we follow it. There's most gamers out there who consider themselves gamers who don't follow all the news. And then something comes out and it either is good or it's not. And then they kind of go about their lives. But there's this investment that I know I feel within the industry where we're rooting for things to be good. And then they're not. Like they come out and they fall on their face. And then we're also then disappointed and frustrated, right? Anthem would be a really good example of this where there's a lot of hype. And even I was telling people not to pre-order the game. It'd be risky. And people were like, at the time we're like, no, like you should totally do it. And it's like, you don't get it. Like, wait. Hold up. So that's part of the bad news. So if we could stop making divisions within ourselves, we could start to actually capitalize things, on things like that. So let's talk about the good news. But it's still a challenge. Momentum is key. And we saw this last year with crossplay. When we were touting it, we were like, everybody's talking about it. There were people who came in and were like, we should be focusing on loot boxes or we should be focusing on this. And I responded, I was like, that's not where the momentum is right now. Like if we try to sit here and divide ourselves across every issue within the gaming space right now, it's going to be very thin. It's going to just fall apart. I gave an example of this recently. Talking about, we were doing this thing with Rotary Club. They were kind of doing this like a little march to help kind of like finish off, they're trying to finish off polio. They've been vaccinating the world, have been doing a really good job with it. My wife's a Rotarian. And we went into this march. And so somebody had the idea that like, hey, let's let all the little clubs, and I'm not a Rotarian, so if they're not called clubs, I apologize, just go do their own thing. And they're going to go march and it's going to be great because it's going to kind of, we're going to cover the most ground. And we walked down the street. We walked a couple places. We walked to a bus station. We walked for a good long time. And I don't think anybody really was impacted because nobody saw us really. Like we're just walking down the street. We waved to people, things like that. And the same thing kind of all over. But what if all of those people were in the downtown Fort Worth area and then it got on the news and then it's like mass people create something that's newsworthy. How this helps, what we need to do is get this into more of the mainstream media outside of our bubbles, respectively. Anything that can hit Facebook and then my mom can ask me about it means that something, it could be good or bad, but we're going to frame this positively, is a good thing. Look at what's happening. Something is happening. What is happening? We want to know about it because most likely people want to help, but they're busy. Everybody's busy. Especially as you get older, you get busy. That's just the way it is. And so you kind of have to try to leverage momentum. So you got to pick your fights and you got to pick them in the sense that what's going to get the most people behind the idea as opposed to try to tackle every idea out there. What Michael's pointing out is regarding like Activision Blizzard, people playing WoW Classic. It's a strong play. And honestly, when it comes down to it, like when you talk about 2 billion gamers in the 1%, the math is from a business perspective is there. Like that's why you see more of a shift into mobile. There's more gamers there. They're spending more money there. And we shouldn't discount them. We could actually team up with them. Like if we can get them on board, that's going to help our cause. How do you get somebody to join a movement? Well, you got to get them personally invested. And I think shaming them or saying that they're doing something wrong isn't going to get them on your side. It's only going to kind of shut down that conversation. I think this comes down to, as gamers, being more relationally aware, being more understanding of the person we're talking with, and trying to build that relationship. There's no easy one fix, right? This is this is a movement for the RPGer and all of us. Those that when we're talking about a grind, it's going to be a grind. It's bringing people into understanding by being inviting, open, understanding to what their needs are. Like what do they enjoy about gaming? That's one side of it. The other side, from a purely business perspective, because let's talk about 2%. Let's talk about, imagine, if you will, this is like, a lot of people might discount it like, Brian, this is ridiculous. Yeah, it is, but I've seen ridiculous happen. I've seen things happen that I thought, but no, that's never going to happen. And it does. And it's just a matter that, it's about that personal relationship. But let's say you take 400,000 people. And 400,000 people, let's just say you spend $60 a month on a video game. You can take that and you can buy these companies. You get enough people, you get enough capital, you can go and buy and replace these companies. And then that, like basically forming a consumer advocacy group. We originally were like, oh, maybe that's the ESRB, but they're really kind of a industry advocacy group. They're not really, the ESRB isn't here for you and me, in a way. They're here to advocate on behalf of the developers. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody can form a group. That's a power of that. And if we had that, if we had some leadership in that regards, we could form said group. We could go replace the board at Activision Blizzard. It's going to take a lot of money. They are a valuable company. They have IP. They're valued at a certain percentage. Same thing with EA. Same thing with all of these companies. Especially if they're publicly traded, we can buy our way onto the board. Not individually. I don't have that kind of capital. We would have to form a consumer advocacy group. We have to then, raise the capital and do it. And if you think about it, it's entirely possible. They bank on that not happening. It's like because it hasn't happened. And so that's hard. Nothing here is easy. But the frustration is that you have these people going on these individual crusades. People like, yeah, it's fine to boycott EA. You're going to go and you're going to do that. And then you're going to go shame people who don't. Well, rather than doing that, invite people to join in on that. And try to instead, you can go and sit here and say you're going to hurt them, but they've got enough capital that you're not. Realistically, the better way in my mind, you can either get everybody to boycott EA, but more realistically, if you could actually get people to say, hey, let's go form an investment club and let's just buy our way, get enough capital and go buy them, and then you own them, and then you say, get out of here because I don't like you. That's a whole game changer. They're a publicly traded company. You can go do that. That requires a part of leadership that I don't know if we have within the gaming space. I don't know where that comes from. So I don't have any okay, guys, this is what the plan is going forward. But this is where this is the discussion piece of it. This is where, if you really want to make a change, how willing are you to go forward with it? How either angry. I don't think anger should be the driving emotion, because at some point you won't be angry. Anger can't sustain you for a long period of time. It can motivate you to get going, but you got to have something, some other emotion, some other form of it that drives you forward to press on when even it feels like no one's behind you. When you're leading, and then you turn around and no one's with you because they all got excited about the next thing. There's nothing wrong about being excited about these games. There's nothing wrong with people who want to go play classic. There's nothing wrong with people who feel fine supporting Activision Blizzard. We all have our individual lines in this case. How do we unite the clans? How do we unite as gamers to send that message? And it's not about Twitter. Twitter is a tool, but it's not just tweeting out there isn't going to do anything. We have to get bigger. We have to take a bigger stand, and we have to figure out what those rules are. And the only way to do so is to organize. That's fine. I support everybody who feels like they want to go out on their own and they want to boycott whatever ideas they want. Good for you. Honestly, that is where it starts, where it gets, where it spills over beyond the 1% to 2% that we represent, where it spills over into the world. You again look at what Fortnite did. It united gamers and non-gamers. Parents were frustrated, kids are frustrated, senators are frustrated. Like, all of that is because it spills over into kind of a bigger thing. So I think we have to pick what our fight is. I think we then have to organize, and then we have to persist. We have to persevere. And I don't think we do that by discounting the small, like, we're a small army, right? When we subdivide that army and we discount people who might lack self-control or might not really care, it's not that I don't think they lack self-control or that they don't care. It's just not their thing, and that's okay. It's okay that you and I won't 100% always agree on absolutely everything. I love Final Fantasy and I love Dragon Quest, and maybe that means I don't personally care for Clay Fighter or something like that, an old classic. And that's okay. And if we start to say if we don't like everything 100%, that's just not going to work, and nothing changes. We got to go ecumenical with this. We got to go beyond our group, and we got to expand. And nothing I said here today is a light switch. Nothing is none of this is easy. And you might just be like, Brian, that's impossible. And I think if that's the idea, if that's what you take away from this video, then it will always be impossible. I would say it's challenging, but it's not impossible. I've seen the impossible happen in my life, and it's amazing. And so I don't try to equate anything with impossible. But that's it. You are absolutely right, Michael, to be frustrated. There's no easy answer, and that's part of the challenge in today's society. We are very entertained, and we're very distracted. And I was talking with Chris about this on the phone this morning. Bread and circuses. We've got food and we've got entertainment, and it's cheap. It prevents us a lot of ways from actually doing things. If you go literally shut off the internet or turn off Netflix or whatever for a month, there might be riots in the streets. People will be like, I'm bored. What am I going to do? I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go make something or cause something to happen because I have that kind of time. But we are essentially distracted, and that form of the medium is part of the challenge. So there's some bad news, some good news, and some bad news. So really kind of the ball's going to be in our court. What do we want to do? What is let's just start small and just say, what does we as the workforce want to work towards? What do we want to help affect change? If we can figure out what that is as a part of this community, we can try to make strides. So as somebody who considers himself a part of this community, what do you want to change? Do we want to focus all our frustration on Activision Blizzard? I think we should only pick one thing and focus on that one thing until it's accomplished, rather than here's the 10 things. Now, y'all, might not agree on what that one thing is, but if we talk about it, maybe we can come to a consensus, and maybe we can make some change. Crossplay is happening. That was the big thing. That's definitely a big thing for me, and I'm very, very happy that we got to see that. That happen and be able to be a part of that movement. So I guess the question's now to you guys. What should we do as a community? I think we have a lot of power. I think we have a lot of strength, and it's going to take a lot of work. So what would be the goal in 2 years from now that we could look back at this moment and say we started something and we saw it through, and we chip away one piece at a time and hopefully make gaming better for everybody. Anyway, those are my thoughts. It's a really interesting question and a really interesting discussion. Thank you, Michael, so much for taking the time to write it out. Hopefully this has been good. Hopefully it's been insightful, at least how I think and process things. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. I'm interested in hearing y'all's thoughts and follow up to this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Brian, and this is Work to Game. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hey guys, it's me, Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we hope you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. We talk a lot about video games, and we hope to at least hear from you in the comments below. We also try to respond to our comments. We really appreciate the comments, the discussion, all the various points of view that everybody is so kindly, I guess, and politely or impolitely shares with us from time to time. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching this video. We hope you hit that like button. We hope you hit that subscribe button. Come back for more content each and every day. We post a lot around here, and we'd love to hear from you about what you like about video games and everything, and especially if you have any questions that you're stuck on in anything. So anyway, signing off. See you next time.